Welcome to Let's Bet, the show for folks who love betting on sports but hate losing money. I'll show you how to increase your sports betting bankroll by gaining confidence so that ultimately you can have the lifestyle that you deserve. I'm your host, Scott Pritchard, pro bettor, full-time, 32 years and counting, founder of Pritchard'sPicks.com, took third place in the Circa Invitational a year ago, was asked back, made the cut, made the second cut, made the Elite Eight, half game out of third place. So close, but yet so far. I did take third place in the Golden Nugget Ultimate Challenge season-long contest after taking sixth a year ago. We broadcast live and worldwide each and every Friday from 1 to 1:30 Las Vegas time on demand on Pritchard'sPicks.com and on your favorite podcast and video distribution platforms. To reach out to us, I would suggest that you email us at letsbet@Pritchard'sPicks.com. That's letsbet@Pritchard'sPicks.com. NFL football Final Four weekend, conference championship games, everything you ever wanted to know but were too afraid to ask, and back by popular demand, legend, not my words, the words of the New York Times, legend Jim Feist. Jim, welcome back.
Well, thanks for having me.
It's like deja vu all over again.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago, was it?
Well, and then yesterday, I come out to show support to people that I know, like, and trust at Don DeMarco Pizza in West Charleston. You have
appreciate your support. It's great spot, and it was fun yesterday. You had a couple questions, and that's what we like. We like the mix.
Well, I'm a big fan of the owner, Al, his brother Michael, great guy, but good people. Yes. I like doing business and spending money with people that I know, like, and trust.
And they are good people.
Now, next week, I'm on the show. What the heck are we going to talk about?
Well, I think we're going to have to find another thing to talk about, maybe all the coaching changes, and we got some basketball we might slip in there a little bit, but we're going to have a game. I'm not too sure which teams are going to be in it, but that'll be a week away.
Well, I think, too, we'll hone in on the props. There are over 500 ways to bet. And I think over a 2-week window, personally, objectively, as a fellow sharp like yourself, I would prefer to bet a preseason game in August when I've got a first teamers playing third teamers, one coach trying to win, another team trying to sell tickets, a quarterback competition. But there's a reason why they limit me even more during preseason. But the Super Bowl, for all intent and purpose, buyer beware, sports betting philosophy. I'm telling you, boys and girls, be careful betting the big game. You're talking about one NFL game over a 2-week window. For all intent and purpose, the odds makers, the sports books, there are no secrets. Everything is magnified times 10. The point spread, side, total, money line, you name it, they've nailed it. But there is an opportunity because you have over 500 ways to bet the game, props. And I think we'll be talking a little bit about maybe some value props. I know a common friend that we have in Steve Fezzik, he's a big prop guy as well.
He said on one broadcast, he said when there's a full card, he might have 100 in-game bets and props.
Right on.
Amazing.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about this past weekend before we dive into the Final Four AFC, NFC Conference Championship games. I want to talk about the Baltimore Ravens because I felt on paper, top 5 offense, top 5 defense, good coach. I look at the final score as just another statistic when I handicap games week in, week out. And when I recap that Ravens-Bills game, the Ravens dominated. They outgained Buffalo by 143 yards. Buffalo had +3 in the takeaway department. Baltimore had countless dropped passes, including the game-tying 2-point conversion by Andrews. And yet, the Bills won, but barely. It just goes to show that good teams, good bets, lose.
There's a lot of ways to look at a game and break it down. The halftime score was 21-10, Buffalo. And I'm partial to Josh Allen. I like the way he plays. He's a tough guy. In the beginning when he came out of North Dakota or Wyoming, something like that, he made a lot of mistakes, turned the ball over a lot. But he's a tough guy. Very talented, very talented. The head coach baffles me a little bit. I worry about coaches that get leads and then sit on it. And when you're up 21-10 at the halftime and you're getting the kickoff in the third quarter, and then you score nothing in the third quarter. And you go to the fourth quarter, and you have this offense with this great quarterback, and you score 6. So he scored 6 points in the second half. And that's why it came down to the pass to Andrews that Andrews dropped. But nobody talks about the fact that pass was a little behind him. So it wasn't actually accurate, and it made it more difficult to catch. And, of course, the conditions were tough, too, the weather. So I put a lot of that on the coach sitting on the lead. Easily could have put that game away. You just put your foot on their neck and put them out of their misery, and it might not have been as close as it was.
It's interesting what you say, because I've seen this trend for decades betting sports professionally, and there is a trend. I'm going to share it with our viewers. You may or may not be aware. My guess is you probably invented this trend. But when you have in the NFL, not college, but in the NFL, when you have a double-digit favorite and they have the line covered by double digits at halftime, the automatic play is the under. And the reason is, to your point, the team they have enough points to win. Now they're going to play the scoreboard. They're going to student body right, student body left, cloud of dust, eat the game, shorten the clock.
Exactly.
And the other team has already proven that they're inept on offense. So if they're facing, say, a fourth, it's late in the third and you're down 20, and you're facing a 3rd and 7 from the opposition's 12, instead of taking the surefire 3 points, you go for the low percentage first down attempt, unless you're Dan Campbell, and then you just randomly go for it on each and every time. Doesn't understand situational football or third-grade arithmetic. But I'm off the Dan Campbell kick. I've said what I had to say, and now I'm getting the last laugh, so it feels great. And then oftentimes that team that is inept on offense, they don't convert the low percentage play, and they turn the ball over on downs, and now the team with the 20-some plus lead, they take over 90 yards away, and it's rinse and repeat. That trend has been 58 to 60% long-term betting the under when a double-digit favorite in the NFL has the line covered because they play the scoreboard. But to your point, the Bills, come on, it's 21-10. It's not over by a long shot.
Only 11.
21 points is not going to be enough to win the game. So I get what you're saying. They ultimately got a little too conservative.
I believe that, and I've seen it in a lot of sports, many sports. And I played one sport professionally and saw it happen which was pool. And I saw people do the same thing. They just get a little too complacent. They're winning, and they all of a sudden they stop playing as aggressively as they were in the beginning, and they get a little too cocky. And in Buffalo's case, they just have a coach that does that all the time. And Allen is the kind of guy, if you let him, he'll put his foot on your neck and put you out of your misery. And that didn't happen. But he was saving him. He doesn't want him to hurt himself, doesn't want him to turn the ball over. You'll notice that all winners last week, none of them turned the ball over. And every team that lost, they all turned the ball over. So the style right now is, let's save my job and not turn the ball over, be careless. Of course, Dan Campbell, of course, is a little bit different. Of course, he's out for... I know you were picking on him, but he also had a rough go on defense, losing all those cluster players on defense.
Well, I'll give you that, but they did pick up not one but 2 studs to come back. But anytime you have a bye and you have 2 weeks to prepare and you are a double-digit favorite at home and you get beat by a rookie QB by double digits, not his first, not his third, but his 3rd consecutive road game, it starts and stops at the top. I look right at Dan Campbell. Lack of leadership, lack of preparation.
To Greg Bissell, and he was saying about that game and how well prepared Washington was. Rookie quarterback, I don't think he's a rookie quarterback anymore. After all the games he's played, preseason and all the regular season games, he's not a rookie anymore. He's always into, 18, 19 games. He's not a rookie. And he's an exceptional player to begin with. But the game plan, they had some schemes where they had their wideouts double stacked on each side. Detroit didn't know how to defend them. And Detroit's playing with some backups and with some people that are coming back a little bit hurt. They're not 100%. And they weren't as prepared as Dan Quinn was with his team. Dan Campbell was not.
It's a great point because we know Washington, their strength is not rush defense. Their strength is offense. They have players at the skilled position, and Jaden Daniels is an offensive juggernaut. He can run, he can pass. But I look at people lie, numbers don't. And the numbers say 0-5 rookie quarterbacks in conference championship games. We're talking about Washington's 4th consecutive road game now. They split the season series, even though it was a miracle, late come from behind win. I look at Washington, Jim, I'm telling you, man to man, friend to friend. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 games this year they had lost. And they pulled it out of their tail. And they ultimately ended up winning on the last play, Hail Mary. Well, guess what? You're not playing the Bears, and you're not playing Dallas this week. You're playing Philly at home, on the road, hostile environment. How can you take this? I almost said the Skins. How can you take the Commanders in this matchup? Philly's going to win. The question is by how many?
Well, we don't know what's going on with Jalen Hurts. He did have a concussion about a month ago. It took a while to come back, and now he has a knee. So is he 100% from the concussion or not? And is the knee going to allow him to be mobile? Without the mobility, the run-pass option is not going to work because the defense is not going to have to respect it. That will change a lot. However, the Philadelphia offensive line is big. They're large people, and they're very, very talented. They will open up holes. And Saquon Barkley, I have no idea how the Giants let him go. I want to meet the person that let that guy go because he's having an amazing year. But the offensive line has a lot to do with that. You don't run unless somebody's blocking for you. You just don't make your own holes and run through them. Somebody has to do that job, and they do that job. And they're either the first or second best running team in football. And Washington is not all that good at stopping the run. So that is an issue. Everybody wants to have explosive plays. Well, Hurts doesn't give you explosive plays with his arm. He just doesn't. I don't know if he just doesn't have it, or it's not in the game plan, or it's the way they manage the game. But they get explosive plays from their running game. It could be Hurts running the ball. It could be Barkley. It could be another back. But they get them, but it's on the ground most of the time. It's going to be a very difficult game for Washington to stop Philadelphia. And Philadelphia will wear you out because of their physicality. So in the second half, if Washington happens to play well in the first half, look for Philadelphia's physicality to take over in the second half. The question is, can Washington score enough? Because they could outscore Philadelphia. They have that ability. They have the wide receivers, they have the backs, and they got the quarterback. They can outscore you. So maybe Philadelphia gets 30 and they get 32.
Well, we know that Washington has a high-powered, explosive scoring offense.
Yes.
So logic dictates that, just like last week, the Lions decided to play to the strength of Washington. Oh, yeah, let's just try to outscore one of the best offensive in the league, as opposed to maybe ball control. And Philly is smarter, way smarter than the Lions. And here's why. They're at home. To your point, they're big up front. They will control the line of scrimmage. The strength for Philly is the weakness for Washington. Their rush defense is average at best, especially on the perimeter.
Exactly.
But you're talking about Philly and Barkley. Again, I'm just a numbers guy, okay? And the numbers say that Barkley in 2 games against Washington, 300 yards in 2 games. 300 yards rushing. That lends itself to ball control, keeping Daniels and the Commanders. You can't score if you're on the sidelines. So that's why Philly wins. The question is, do they win by 7 or more? And therein lies the rub.
They're capable of winning by 20 because of their defense is better and their offensive line is better. Their running game is better. The question is, can Philadelphia slow down this Washington team who has been prolific on offense? They did score. I mean, the last game, I think it was 32-36 or something like that when Washington beat them. That was the game that Hurts had the concussion. They were ahead when he got hurt. and Washington came back and won that game. And that was one of their comeback wins. So I don't think that's going to happen again. However, we do have a question mark about Hurts' knee. That is something that a lot of people are worried about. If he was 100% healthy, you would not be able to lay 6. It would be higher.
I don't think he's 100%. I don't think he has to be, because how much energy and effort does it take to turn around and hand the ball to Barkley? All it means is more carries for Barkley, which is a good thing for Philly, playing right into the weakness of Washington. Again, this is why we play the games. We're talking 4th consecutive road game for Washington. We're talking about a rookie quarterback, and I hear what you say. He's not a rookie. Okay, stop saying he's a rookie. He's not. But rookie quarterbacks in the conference championship, 0-5.
They have not done well up to this point. I'm not sure we've seen a rookie like this, though.
It is impressive.
He's
I'm telling you. I
He's
liked
a
him
little
at
bit
LSU. I didn't see this coming. I didn't see it coming with CJ for Houston last year, though, either.
No,
I
that's
thought
true.
he might be good.
That's true.
But, man,
He had a little regression this year.
He did.
But they had a lot of injuries.
Sophomore
also.
jinx.
Offensive line, wide receivers, they had some regression, but that was the whole team, I believe.
Let's talk now about the AFC Conference Championship. We're going to get to our best bets in just a few short minutes, but I want to talk about the Bills versus the Chiefs. And I know I'm big on history repeating itself. History has a way of repeating itself. These two teams played earlier in the year, and Buffalo at home dominated against KC. The bad news is, Josh Allen, it's a regular season game. The bad news is that game was in Buffalo, and the Bills, as good as they are a very pedestrian average, 5-3 on the road. Your Kansas City Chiefs and mine, unbeaten, untied, unblemished, 9-0 at home. Mahomes, 3-0 in the playoffs against Josh Allen.
I'm a big proponent for let's look at the coaches. I always start right there because this is the leader. Andy Reid is in his history. He's 60-some years old. He was in Philadelphia. And it's ironic. He might end up, if he wins this game, he might end up playing against Philadelphia, which is where he came from. And he was there. He did a lot of good things with Philadelphia, with Don McNabb and et cetera, et cetera. And he was a good coach there. Then he comes over here and he gets Mahomes and he develops this team. Kelsey, Mahomes, wide receivers, everything. A lot of things changed. They were missing a lot of players all year long, and they sort of played with their food. It's kind of a way of saying that they were winning, but they weren't winning by a lot. And win every game up to a certain point. They've lost a couple, but they were not putting anybody away. Margin of victory over all those games was the lowest you could possibly be and have all those victories. However, they got a lot of players back. They got some wide receivers back. They got the running back, Pacheco's back. They've had a little problem on the left tackle issue. They've tried to manipulate that by moving people over from the other side of the line, which helps protect Mahomes' back. But Kelsey gets his yards. He always gets 70, 75 yards every time in these big games. And for some reason, he seems to always be open down the middle, which is kind of crazy because you know he's going to get the ball. But it's because they have other players that have back now that weren't there all year, that makes it more possible for him to be open. And we know that Andy Reid, and I'm going to talk about the real key here, is Spagnuolo. He is a fabulous defensive coordinator. And what happens to him is, in certain points of the game, he changes his blitz style. He starts bringing players from different places than you would normally get a blitz, which means the offensive line can't make adjustments. And when they can't make adjustments and there's players coming from all over the place that you're not expecting and haven't been coming throughout the entire game, it's effective. That means Josh Allen's going to get hit. That's where the turnovers come from. Now, they've been avoiding that, and they've been playing more conservative. The key to this game is Josh Allen can win this game by himself. That's the key. Because without him doing that, they don't have enough. But he is such a good player with his legs and his arm that he makes it dangerous. However, The counterattack there is on the other side. There's a guy by the name of Mahomes who's equally as good with a better coach and a better defensive coach and some weapons over there that they know how to win championships. They've done it. This is their trying for their third one. Nobody's ever done this. They have a chance to make history, and probably Andy Reid will retire and go play with his 13 grandchildren.
Makes you wonder, right? When I look at this matchup, the Buffalo Bills, I know this team like the back of my hand. Oh, wait, I never noticed that wart there before. I know this team fairly well, and they are 35-8 when it comes to takeaways, far and above number one in the league. I cannot take them all that seriously if you have to count on taking the ball away and only turning it over 8 times. To their credit, they do not beat themselves. And I say this because the Chiefs do not turn the ball over. The Chiefs do not beat themselves. And you have a team that's 9-0 at home. I look at the Bills, and I just have to rehash this because outgained at home, where they're world beaters by 143 points. And they were +3 in the turnover department, which is a ton. And they still should have lost that game.
And it took a drop pass in the
exactly. Because Captain Mo, as you know, was on the Ravens side.
That goes back to that conservative style when you didn't put your foot on their neck and kill them.
And that's who they are, though.
That is.
I mean, do you think he's just going to come out like gunslinger mentality if it's the same type situation? And you can't keep teams hanging around, lingering around. That's how you get beat.
You never want to do that. I know I've had that problem, and I've seen that problem in other sports, and it just doesn't work.
Legend Jim Feist, my guest on Let's Bet. Scott Pritchard, pro bettor, 32 years and counting. What I can do, Jim Feist can do better. I've been doing it for 32 plus years. He's been doing it for 55 plus years. Between the two of us, 87 years. I think we look good for 87. We're coming back with Best Bets right after this.
Humbled being here with Scott Pritchard, talking sports betting and all-around advantage players. I am Steve Fezzik at Fezzik Sports on X. I got to tell you, if there's one contestant that I do not want to be up against when both of us are in contention late in the year, it's Scott Pritchard with all of his skills and acumen. Hey, living the dream. Let's bet.
Another legend, Steve Fezzik. Last week, my guest on Let's Bet. Fez, mutual friend, personal friend, mentor. It's time now for Best Bets. AFC, NFC Conference Championship odds. The Washington Commanders at the Philadelphia Eagles. Philly favored by 6. The Kansas City Chiefs at home favored by 1.5 to 2 against the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to go ahead and go first because I'm sensing that we might be on the same side. I'm going to go with Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Taylor Swift, Caitlin Clark, and the rest of the Swifties and the home crowd, home cooking Chiefs. I like teams that can run the ball and conversely stop the run this time of year. I like home cooking. I like home field. Kansas City, it's cheap. I'm going with the cheap money line. Okay, my buddy Bill Krakenberger, who I love and respect, he mentioned yesterday that in this game, he would lean on the money line as well, as opposed to laying 2.5. A lot of sports you can get away with laying 2.5, but now with the 2-point conversion and with the playoff rules and whatnot, I would feel terrible for you, not me, because I'm playing the money line. If you laid the 1.5 and the Chiefs are out there to win the game and they're going to the Super Bowl and they're celebrating and smoking cigars, but you lost your bet. KC at home, cheap money line, see the cashier. Jim, you're up.
Well, I'm going to add to that. Krakenberger, Bill, good guy, great guy. I love the guy. He also mentioned the overtime rule, which makes it more likely that a team will win by 1 because both teams have to have a possession in the playoffs. And if that happens and one team gets a touchdown, the other team gets a touchdown, they're very likely to go for 2, which means now that 7-6 score, that 1-point victory is possible. So that's another reason to lay the money line. I played Kansas City on the money line, and I also thought about strongly betting the under. And then I started to wonder about it, because at some point in time, if somebody gets a 2-score lead, especially if Kansas City gets the 2-score lead, you're going to see them open up on the other side. And then the number is not that high, and the weather is going to be cold but not terrible. So I backed off a little bit on that. But I do have Kansas City on the money line. That is an official play. And then I parlayed them, a money line parlay with Philadelphia on the money line. I didn't want to lay 6.5, and I generally do not do that. But on a parlay, I have 2 money line bets there. So I have Kansas City, Philadelphia money line, and then I have a much bigger bet on Washington, Philadelphia over, which I don't know, for whatever reason, my DNA or whatever, I am much better with picking totals than I am with sides. So and that's been, again, this year, the same thing. Totals have been my game. So I have an official play, 3 official plays. Money line parlay with the 2 home teams, money line bet on Kansas City separately, and then the over in the Washington-Philadelphia game.
Jim Feist, as we wrap up the show, how can people find you?
A couple ways, jimfeist.com, and then we have the new site where this show will be aired as well, Proline TV on YouTube. And we're building a gaming portal there, and shows like this and quality handicappers like yourself are welcome to go there, because what you want to do is bring quality information, and it's all free. Nobody pays for anything there, and it's all there. And I think in the last 45 days, which is as long as it's been there, we put up about 80 videos.
That's outstanding. Hey, congrats, man.
Thank
Are you ever going to slow down, stop, chill, relax, enjoy the road?
Time to sleep when you're dead.
I like it. Jim, you're a great friend, a great mentor. Love you. Love having you on the show. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you very much, and the same to you. Ditto.
Jim Feist, the legend on Let's Bet. Scott Pritchard, pro bettor, 32 years and counting. I want you to reach out to us simply by emailing us at letsbet@pritchardspicks.com. That's letsbet@pritchardspicks.com. For legend Jim Feist, I'm Scott Pritchard. Until next weekend, see the cashier.